seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 4. Part man,
Part machine, or pod.
Would you like to lead us off in the minutes, Connor?
This minute begins with a lawyer saying aggravated assault and ends with naked shower times.
I sent you my notes on the last frame. It's just me writing ass 7 times.
Ass, yeah.
No, the titties are in the next minute.
Yes. But it's, equal opportunity nudity. It's all...
Yes!
Which we'll get into soon, but...
This is not the first time Paul Verhoeven has directed a movie with equal opportunity nudity.
It's fun to say.
Yeah. It's one hell of a concept when you think about how kind of prudish, in many ways the 80s kind of were.
Yeah. And yet, casual nudity, here's a topless woman in the background of a scene. Oh, okay.
Well, that was definitely an 80s staple, especially of this kind of genre, like, the action flick. And yet the nudity in this is not really that gratuitous.
No, it feels really natural. I've worked in theatre, so I'm a costume maker and designer, and dressing actors or dancers backstage is just, I'm so used to people walking around naked and having to dress them.
I've never been in that environment particularly, but being a cosplayer, especially when you're doing charity work and everyone's crowded in a small room trying to get changed, you kind of get used to other people's bodies, even if there's no nudity, but
Yeah, so this scene is very much like that, where it's just, everyone's there to have a shower, there's nothing weird going on.
I mean, as much as this is extremely relevant, it's not the focus of this minute, though, when you think about it, because this is the introduction to our boy, or potentially our boy, Alex Murphy.
Yeah, my man.
But we can still talk about nudity if you want. I mean,
nudity as a concept is quite interesting as it's used in art and fiction, so we'll put that one to the corner, because
we're going to have a lot more of it next minute.
Yes. Well, our hero, our main man, Alex Murphy, not yet RoboCop, has just walked through the door of the Detroit precinct.
Yeah.
And I actually never realized before. I've seen this movie so many times, and it just went right over my head where he says that he's transferring from Metro South.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh yeah, he's new to this place. His rapport with Lewis is so good instantly that I just forget. I just go, oh yeah, they've known each other for years.
That's the curious thing when you think about this movie, when the idea of like the cops themselves, they are all in this together. Okay, there's a bit of bickering maybe when it comes to RoboCop themselves. We're definitely going to subscribe to the Maggie May Fish theories here, even though technically Murphy didn't want to transfer, but that's something we can talk about in a tick. No, the funny thing is all the cops themselves, you get a sense that they're all in this rather shit situation and they are totally on board with it, helping each other out. I mean, the whole fact is like, when we'll find out in the next minute after, when Fredericks dies, every cop in the room is just like, oh shit. And even Reed is basically saying, you can turn up if you can.
Yeah.
No one's expecting you to, because, we're dealing with a shit show out there, to the point where they're even talking about striking, especially because of all the OCP fuckery.
Yeah, that's something that stood out to me in this minute as well. We're only 4 minutes in, and so much is already being established.
I know!
Every little choice, every little bit of dialogue is pushing the story forward. This is the kind of movie you would teach in film school or just writing in general. This is how you do it.
Yeah, we'll definitely go into this in the gaslighting section, but
Yes.
it's the pacing in this movie, it's got a good beat. It's not too fast and it's not too slow. It's not hitting you over the head with information, but it's giving you some good exposition that fills in that background. See, the funny thing is, thinking back to this particular minute, I always think of the boardroom scene coming before the Alex Murphy scene. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I do too, because I feel, he doesn't show up until...
Oh, glad I'm not the only one.
Much later. No, he's there. He's already there.
Yeah. But I think it's just the boardroom scene is so iconic with Ed 209. And you think that's kind of the opening of the film. It at least sets up a lot of what's going on regarding RoboCop, specifically the Project RoboCop. And it does tie into this part of the film specifically. I never even really noticed that. Even though I watched this movie somewhere between 1 and 100 times.
Shit million times.
Yeah. I can't say I've seen this over 100 times.
We will end up seeing it about 100 times by the time we get to the end of this.
Oh yeah, I'm fully on board with all that. But it's funny how our brain tricks us in those situations. And yeah, it actually puts the cart before the horse in that sense of like, it sets up this idea that Murphy got transferred from a nice precinct to basically the biggest shithole in Detroit.
Yeah.
And we find out that that's part of OCP's plan.
Yeah, so there's a bit of dialogue where they go, what brings you here? And he says, beats me, man. I think OCP is moving a lot of guys up here.
Exactly, yeah.
So already his fate is being orchestrated, and I mean, it might not have been that they were looking at Murphy specifically to become RoboCop, but
no, it was a wide net. They just happened to get a good cop in a bad situation. This is pointed out specifically in RoboCop 2. It was really a lucky shot that happened in many ways. That the good cop got killed in such a way that he was a perfect candidate.
I just remember that in RoboCop 2, they basically say that the reason why, well, they're kind of hinting at it, that the reason why Murphy worked and no one else does as RoboCop is because, you know, he's a good Christian boy and he wouldn't kill himself.
Yeah. Oh,
so dark.
We will definitely get into this. Verhoeven, he is a devout madman, but he's also a devout Christian. He peppered Christ allegory throughout this entire film.
No way. I mean, yeah, RoboCop is basically... I mean, when it comes to mechanical Jesuses, I think you've got Optimus Prime.
Yep.
And then you got RoboCop.
Yeah.
Very close second.
Yeah, and RoboCop at least murders for the side of good.
Yes. Yeah, not to tangent too much, but I've been researching the Bayformers movies, I'm going to do a video essay one day, and yeah, both of us are really upset that Optimus Prime straight up kills a human man in, I think it's the 4th movie, I don't even remember anymore.
I've only seen the first one, and that was enough.
Yeah, you're a sensible person.
I'm just getting the second-hand loathing from you.
I'm having so much fun, you're my therapist now, my Transformers therapist,
So tell me your feelings about Optimus Prime murdering someone.
Michael Bay's so angry. He's so angry about everything and everyone.
Please show me on the Optimus Prime doll where Michael Bay touched you.
In my heart. But not in a good way, he broke it.
in my robots. Oh, it's literally on this microchip. You just pull it in and out, and it's called Soul.exe. It's bloatware. Shit. I don't know where to go from there.
Nah, anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
So Murphy's told to get your armor on, and I don't know if that's really a reference to he's eventually going to be in armor 24/7, but
I think that's just a sly nod.
Yeah.
The writers on this were, don't want to say too smart for their own good, but they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little wink.
It's a lovely nod. But yeah, it does specifically refer to the body armor, and I've got something to talk about that. Well, Pepper, this is a teaser for later on in the pod.
Yeah, I was just doing all these little teasers all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna love this.
Okay.
So yeah, Alex Murphy, because this is us, we've got to do the obligatory Star Trek reference.
Well, shit. That's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
Mm-hmm.
So he was played by Peter Weller,
Of course.
who was Admiral Marcus in the worst Star Trek movie ever made. I will stand the final frontier before I will stand into darkness.
I don't know, I mean, Insurrection, Nemesis, then into
Insurrection was a great Star Trek TNG episode. It wasn't necessarily a great movie.
Yeah, it makes a terrible movie. My god. I mean, you could have had a movie with, like, Law or literally anyone.
And then, yeah, Nemesis's teeth drying. But here's the funny thing, because Sergeant Reed, I had to make sure I got his name right, because Sergeant Reed is one of the best characters in this movie, and he does not get enough credit.
True.
Played by the actor, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Robert Docuy. He unfortunately died in February 2008, so...
Oh, quite a while ago.
RSVP Sergeant Reed, because he's also played a Klingon in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Hell yeah.
He plays the character Nogra in the episode Sons of Mok, which I'm not going to spoil for you, but I know exactly which character he is. It's just like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, not sure if I've seen that one. Anyway.
It's season 4.
Yeah, no, I've seen it then.
Oh, it's the one where Worf's brother turns up and asks Worf to execute him for dishonor.
Oh, it's season 4.
Season 4.
Wolf's not in season 4.
Yes, it is. Worf's in season 4.
Nah, maybe...
Worf turns up at the beginning of season 4.
Right, maybe I'm in season 3.
Kern! That's it! I knew there was a spelling joke there somewhere.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm at the end of season 3. Got my numbers wrong.
You're just getting into probably one of the best arcs of DS9 is literally like season 4 onwards.
Cool.
But yeah, Worf's a great addition, and it's a great episode. Kind of love and hate the Klingon stuff in Deep Space Nine, but this is one of those, like, I really dig this episode. But yeah, because Kern's a cool character, and his times in, like, DS9 are pretty cool, and his times in TNG were pretty cool as well.
I think we should have a recurring segment where we see if there are any Star Trek connections with any of the cast that continue to show up as we introduce them.
Well, the only other major character that I could think of that's in this film, except for Clarence Brodka's gang, I've not looked into them. The only major character that I've looked into for Star Trek connections is Nancy Allen, who unfortunately never did Star Trek.
Missing out.
I know.
What would you have liked her to play?
Nancy Allen. Oh, she'd have to be she'd have to be a Bajoran.
I was thinking of Bajoran as well. I don't know why. I could just imagine her with a little nose thing.
Badass woman.
Yeah.
Bajoran.
Yeah, there you go. If she seems like a woman who can kick your ass, probably a Bajoran.
She could have been Akira.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In that casting call, I could imagine her in that lineup.
Yeah. If they're not in Star Trek, we're going to cast them in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Which alien would you be in Star Trek? That's the new segment.
Yes.
So I just want to quickly talk about Murphy again, because Paul Verhoeven talks about it in the commentary, and this is kind of an interesting thing. They wanted a great actor to play RoboCop. They needed someone they knew that could act the physicality of that, but they cast for jawline.
Yeah, I heard that, and when you sent me the file, it sort of had a little bit of the audio commentary, but I couldn't quite hear it, but I heard that bit there.
Oh, sorry, I'll fix that for later.
Okay. But yeah, I did hear a little bit. So what was he saying?
They knew that because of the lower part of the face was going to be visible. They needed someone with a particularly strong jawline.
That's what they do with Batman as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. The only person I would probably say that they probably didn't cast for jawline was probably Michael Keaton. This is not to denigrate Michael Keaton, but it's just one of those things where if you think about it, like that man's lower face with those lips and all that, okay, a lot of people hated the casting of Michael Keaton for Batman back in the day until, they saw it.
Which is so strange.
Yeah, it's the same with every Batman. Everyone hates them until they see him and then it's the best Batman.
Oh, Heath Ledger is gonna suck. He's gonna be the worst Joker ever.
Oh, God, I remember that so badly.
Jared Leto, hold my beer.
No, I think Heath Ledger's Joker was a perfect Joker for that universe.
And the same thing with Michael Keaton, I think. So in terms of casting him for looks, he does have a very distinct lower part of the face. Maybe not a strong jawline, but there's a lot of character there, and I think they cast really well.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Michael Keaton at that point was not considered to be he was an actor in the sense that he was acting, but he was a comedy actor. He had done a lot of comedies like Mr. Mom, which is usually the derogatory term. Oh, you're casting Mr. Mom as Batman.
Oh, that's a point. So what was Peter Weller known for before this?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I love Buckaroo Banzai. So this was 1987, so before that we had...
Because I always had it in my head that Buckaroo Banzai was after RoboCop.
No.
I could be mistaken though.
It's 1984.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I love Buckaroo Banzai. I think that's just...
Admission, I hate to say it, but I still haven't seen it.
You don't
I've got
watch
a copy
anything.
Of it. I finally found my copy of it, and I still haven't watched it.
You don't watch anything. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watch a lot of movies I'm reviewing by minute.
I'm recovering from Transformers.
Yeah.
I've still got one movie to go.
Quick tangent, because it's era appropriate. I've been watching a lot of like leftist YouTube. Things have been popping up into my mentions about how some of the fucking dirtbag alt-right guys have been arcing up again. And I just needed something great and wholesome, so I started rewatching The Wizard of Speed and Time again.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
It's not a well-known film, but it's about a guy who's a special effects artist in Hollywood and like can't get jobs. He's going through the Hollywood studio and they keep screwing around, and he finally gets a job and the producer starts screaming around. But guy who made it, Mark Jitloff, he's one of those guys who writes, directs, acts, but he also does all the special effects. This was made in the mid-80s, so it was released about 1985, and the real world producer who played the movie producer in the movie screwed him over and stole all the money. Mike actually lets people release this because he's got the rights back. He managed to get the rights back to the movie, and he lets people basically Creative Commons the movie, and you can watch it on YouTube as long as you don't make any money of it. He's cool for distribution. And I had the VHS copy somewhere. It's just such a great feel-good movie, as long as you don't think about what happened in real life.
What's it called?
The Wizard of Speed and Time. They do live-action stop-motion...
Oh, wow. It's one of those. Okay.
Yes! Well, Mike Jitloff was actually an animator for Disney. Not a cell animator, an ink and paint animator, but he would do stop motion animation like the toys. So there's an actual famous Disney short film he made for, I think it was one of the Magical World of Disney specials. It's like a solid minute of just like the toys in like all the Disney toys coming to life kind of deals. And what's really cool, because they never credited the animators on all these things, he actually snuck his name and his friend's name is one of those weird names, is Divin something. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but he's like his creative partner. And he snuck their names into the animation in such a way that they couldn't remove them.
But yeah, looking at the roles that Peter Weller's had over the years, it really is just Buckaroo Banzai and RoboCop that he's best known for. He hasn't really done anything that's super... I mean, there's Leviathan, but he wasn't like a...
Oh, I love Leviathan. That's a great film. He hasn't been a gigantic star, at least since the RoboCop film.
Yeah. Oh, he was the voice of Batman in...
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns. Perfect. Just,
Yeah, he was so good in that.
just that grizzled, rough voice. Great. He does a great job.
He does have that kind of just, that voice you just hear and go, oh my god, that's Peter Weller. And then you say, oh my god, that's Peter Weller as Batman. It's great.
There seems to be something about actors from that era that, especially in these genres, that, I don't know, they have this kind of cult following and they've just got this particular charisma, you know, Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Campbell, all those kind of guys. There's just something about them that they're just really cool, basically.
It's like the B-grade cult movie guys, because they're not stars.
No.
Not to sound rude, they're not stars. So they just get cast in practically everything because they're great actors in their own right.
They're almost like the equivalent of podcasters when it comes to the media world, where it's just, you know, I've got a bit of a following, I do have fans, but I'm not like a star. It's this weird middle ground where you can appreciate this kind of cult following, Yeah,
and the 80s were, probably it's the first time where, especially with the advent of home video, this is also the era where the slasher film became a big business, even though that never got mainstream attention.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention the Naked Lunch. I forgot it.
Oh, of course, Naked
was on my-
Lunch.
I knew if I didn't say it out loud, because I was going to get to it, and we went on a tangent, but I knew if I didn't mention it, someone would get upset. Yes.
I just realised I've seen a lot more Peter Weller films than I thought.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Naked Lunch. I had no idea what was going on, but
I need to watch it again, because I watched it when I was like 16, and I was very confused.
I was probably around about the same age. I remember just, it came out, it was like, oh my god, it's RoboCop, I'm going to watch this film.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't tell you what's going on. And of course, you know, completely sober, so that might not help. What was it? It was based on William S. Burroughs?
I think
novel?
so, and directed by Cronenberg, so what did you expect, really?
I didn't know the Cronenberg connection, but in hindsight, that makes absolute sense. Oh, I must admit, I would love to get a copy of The Fly. I haven't watched that in a good long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
The one joke I had written down.
Oh, yes.
So, casting for jawlines, I'm guessing Robert Sedar was just way too much.
And maybe, because we mentioned Bruce Campbell, maybe that was too much as well.
The chin jutted out too much.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He looked like...
Bruce Campbell.
That could almost work, though.
I think Bruce Campbell would probably have played it a bit too camp.
Yeah, probably. A little too groovy.
Yeah, because Campbell does have that just unmatched charisma for some things. You know, like, you know, I just can't recall him playing subtle, or at least not playing subtle well.
Yeah, Weller has this... I don't even know if there's a word for this quality, but you see it in a lot of Ridley Scott's synthetics or his androids or his replicants, where there's this longing, there's this...
Gravitas?
Kind of a sadness, kind of... There's an intensity there, I guess. It's a little bit of... Yeah, gravitas as well. It's a little bit of everything. And he's very much able to, in a quiet way, really draw upon that essence, whatever it is. And
he does that a lot in this, especially with, like, you know, he's having to act through a freaking fiberglass cage, and he pulls it off.
Yeah, it's a real acting challenge, and I can't imagine anyone else doing what he's done here, especially not Joel Kinnaman, anyway.
Well, I don't know how much that's Joel Kinnaman, because I just...
No, that's a little bit of a low blow, because I have just finished watching Altered Carbon. Gotta say, he's actually pretty good, and he deserves better.
No, that's actually my point. I was going to say, the only point of comparison I've got off the top of my head for the guy's acting is RoboCop, the remake, and Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad, Altered Carbon, House of Cards, that's all I've seen.
Those are two are not good examples to try and, like... Quick tangent. I don't know what it is about the Zack Snyderverse where it comes to just completely ruining actors' performances. Well, except for when actors ruin their own.
Yeah, because most of the time it does come down to directors, and I definitely noticed that a mutual friend of ours, Luke Milton, did a series called ScarJo A Go-Go where he reviewed Scarlett Johansson's complete oeuvre, and...
well, the filmography in order, and I don't know where I got up to, but I don't think he's completed it since...
No, Age of Ultron's the last one he did.
Yeah.
But it's still all there, and I definitely recommend it. And I really didn't notice just how much a director influences an actor's performance until then, because and this is something I've learned by doing the movies by minutes as well, is that a lot of viewers don't understand how films come together, how the business works, and so they do, they'll see Robert Pattinson's a terrible actor because he was in
another actor who's going to be terrible at Batman is probably going to knock it out the fucking park.
Yeah, and so people don't understand, well, no, it's because it's Twilight, and this is what the script is, and this is what the director wants, and this is da-da-da-da. So it's really not... And Shia LaBeouf, oh, well, he's just a terrible actor. Because, no, it's Michael Bay made him scream and go, whoa, 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 like a million times.
Yeah, and then there's King of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, but again... And that's another thing is where...
It's just also not a good film as well.
Which is a terrible film. But it's sort of... That's what Hollywood was making at the time. That's what Shia's agents and all of that were kind of trying to make his image into, until he snapped and just went, no, I want to do weird indie shit for the rest of my life and pull my own teeth out and wear paper bags on my head. So, yeah, it's absolutely not about the actor most of the time. They are kind of a puppet to a degree. There's a few actors who...
Well, we touched upon this in previous minutes with Henry Cavill, and how holy shit, you look at someone like The Witcher and it's like, wow, this guy is very charismatic, he's very charming, he's a freaking good actor. And then you think about his Zack Snyder directed performances and they're so bland.
Yeah.
But then again, this has always been one of my criticisms of the Zack Snyder films, is that they get great actors and they give them nothing.
Yeah.
And you can see some of them trying, like Lawrence Fishburne is trying to be a good Perry White.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are some actors that you can just basically point the camera at and they will give you a very consistent performance every single time. But
if they're being directed to give like zero energy to a scene or like zero emotion.
Yeah.
And I think something like, going back to the movie, like RoboCop, the whole idea is that he is a guy with no emotion because he's a robot. And even he still manages to convey a lot more gravitas than Henry Cavill's Superman in 2 films. I mean, at least he smiles in Justice League.
Well, look at like Keanu Reeves. His career has pretty much, you can divide it into 2 parts, where it was Bill and Ted, where he's the goofy himbo teen idiot.
No, yeah.
And then
every single time he did a performance afterwards, it's like, oh, it's just fucking Ted and his goofy smile.
Yeah, and then, because I'm a 90s
that
kid.
guy's work is diverse, man.
Because as a 90s kid, all I knew him from was in The Matrix as Neo.
Yeah.
And so then the stereotype was, this guy can't act, he's very wooden, he doesn't have any emotion.
Yeah.
But that's what the Wachowskis wanted. Everyone is very stiff. Like, no one looks at Carrie-Anne Moss and goes, oh, well, she can't act, oh, it's very wooden performances. Why? They're both told to perform the exact same way, they're both doing the same wooden acting, so why does Keanu get that?
I guess he doesn't look hot
true.
hot in Rubber.
Yeah, maybe everyone's just distracted.
This is Keanu Reeves. I'm guessing he would look hot in Rubber.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He can work it. Even now, just like, he's immortal. He's amazing.
So I just did a vlog on Bill and Ted, and this is something I've been quietly reflecting on for the past week, just thinking back to the movie. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was really good. But the thing I have with Keanu's rendition of Ted is that there's no goofy smile anymore.
No, yeah, I've heard that, where I haven't watched it yet, but that
it's well worth it. It's a brilliant
he's
film.
aged, and not not saying that he's old, but he's just like, he's matured and he's not able to tap into that real carefree silliness.
He doesn't have the youthful energy. I think Alex Winters does to a bit, but even his feels tempered as well. I mean, Bill and Ted was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, oh my god, the movie's ruined. It's just one of those things, it's just on the reflex line. I almost wish there was a bit more of that goof in Ted's performance.
Yeah, and I don't know what...
And it is kind of there, but it's...
Because, I mean, there are some actors who can, especially comedic actors who will bring that kind of goofy energy their entire lives. But yeah, it's weird how Keanu's definitely gone down this very zen, quiet kind of path.
I think zen is a really good description. He still acts like Ted. He's not acting like John Wick.
That's interesting.
That is a thing I think people do underestimate with actors. There are actors that have one role. They do get typecast, but sometimes they just have that one role. They can only really act in that one way. And there's plenty of actors that are like that.
Yeah.
But Keanu is very much a character actor. It is hit and miss.
Yeah, but at least he goes for it. Just don't make him
Yeah.
do an English accent. Jesus Christ.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. Jesus fucking Christ, man. What the hell were you doing in that film? Like, literally, what the fuck?
Cast anyone else. Literally anyone else.
Cast someone that can do an English accent.
Yeah, did they know that England exists?
It's not a bad film, but it's fucking bug nutty, the amount of choices that fucking... It was Coppola, wasn't it? Yeah. The amount of choices he made in that fucking film. Like, what?
The other thing I wanted to talk about in this minute, so yes, we've referenced Maggie Mae Fisher's video essay on RoboCop and how she does a transgender reading on it. I think it's definitely more apparent once he becomes RoboCop, but here... I mean, he's an outsider. There is that. But it's not like he's having trouble conforming. We don't really get that going on. He's not...
If anything, he adjusts very quickly to his situation.
Yeah, everyone seems to embrace him.
Yeah. Going back to what I was saying earlier about, it's actually kind of really cool that all the cops are like, this is such and such, this is such and such, welcome to hell, but we're all in this together.
Yeah, I like that sort of camaraderie.
It's almost, this is 2020 when we're recording this for prosperity, but we are dealing with police brutality issues. We are dealing with global pandemics and all this other stuff. So it's kind of nice to see good cops.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, in context, it's like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Because even in the 80s, there was definitely still police corruption and all that. Okay, there is a scene later on where the cops are opening fire on RoboCop. But even there, and I'm not entirely 100% sure, but I think it's all the cops that knew Murphy beforehand.
Yeah.
Are the ones that are saying, no, don't shoot him.
Yeah, they don't want to. This is probably one of the more positive depictions of police that I can think of. You know, it's weird not to see them.
Well, at least when it's not like he is the sheriff of this small town and everyone loves him, like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing, yeah. Like, well, given especially that it's in the genre of cyberpunk, and, corrupt police are everywhere in that genre, and...
It's surprisingly optimistic for a cyberpunk, isn't it?
It is, that the corruption's not coming from the police level, it's coming from...
Above.
It's coming from above with OCP, and I think there's an element of truth in that. I mean, yes, there are individual cops who are just monsters, but I think a lot of it, and I think this applies to everything, not just the police, but everything is systemic. Everything comes from the top down. Our problems aren't, and this is something that bothers me in... Okay, so say for example, I read an interview by Ridley Scott about Raised by Wolves, his new show, and he's talking about, science fiction can really, it can be a wake-up call. It can tell people to change their attitudes, and I'm going, but most people who watch your shows or your movies are not the people who are in power to actually make any real change. And that's the thing, is if you want to make real change, you got to go to the top. You're not talking to the people, because the people are not responsible.
Yeah, this is why I think a lot of postmodernism theory, especially deconstructing media, is a handy tool, but it doesn't... Yeah, it's hard to address the systemic issues when the people who can change the systemic issues, well, let's face it, they don't particularly want to.
They don't care, and it benefits them.
They don't care.
Yeah. That's the thing is, I remember as a kid watching things like, I don't know, Fern Gully or something about environmentalism or global warming or whatever, and just going, well, if I can understand this message, why can't the grown-ups do something about it and understand this message? And then I became an adult and realized, because there's money to be made, and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It all essentially boils down to two things, money and power.
Yep.
They usually interlinked regardless.
Yes.
Slight tangent. So I do post a little bit of this kind of stuff on social media. And it's funny when you turn around and say,
This is a very political podcast, but I expected it to be.
I know, but...
That's good, do it.
This is stuff that we can talk about when the fucking boardroom scene turns up and stuff like that. But, it's amazing how many times when you say fuck the billionaires, or these, like you're pointing out when billionaires are literally becoming richer over a global pandemic, and you always get people going, well, they do some good. Like, that actually excuses the literal exploitation that they do.
Throw some change at some charities
Yep.
when in reality, I don't think people quite understand what $1 billion could do. And if someone's worth
Exactly.
multiple billions of dollars, they could literally pay for every single American citizen's
Yep.
medical bills,
Yep.
possibly twice over.
I'll do like the post, which is that if someone gets over $999 million, they get a medal and no more money.
Yes. Yeah, you've maxed
You
out.
win capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you catch all the Pokemon in Pokemon, you just you get your little certificate, and that's it.
Yeah.
Can't get any more Pokemon.
Yeah, until the next game comes around, and that's also corporate greed, but that's a different story.
Gotta catch them all.
They keep making Pokemon so we buy more Pokemon.
Yes. So, I don't know, maybe we should reserve the talk of nudity in film for the next
Yeah.
minute. I guess it's more relevant then, yeah.
So, I think this is a good time, speaking of clothing optional, how's that for a fucking segue? So, we've established our credentials. You have a background in costume, design, and in theatre,
Yeah.
etc. I'm a schlubber who makes props. So, I was doing a little bit of research on the OCP uniform, because I'm thinking, I want to make one of these. Have you done any research into this?
No.
Aha, then this is going to knock your fucking socks off.
Oh, I'm excited.
I was looking into the helmet because I thought, okay, what will I need to do the helmet? 'Cause I think those helmets look really cool. And I was looking at the body art and I thought, ooh, I bet Connor would know how to make the body art. 'Cause it just basically looks like some like foam stitched onto...
Yeah, it's very simple.
Yeah. Then I saw a random post on a forum somewhere about the OCP cop helmet. And I heard a rumor that...
I heard a rumor.
I heard a rumor. I had to get that in there.
Oh no.
So now it must be true. I heard a rumor that the OCP helmet is the exact same helmet they use in Tron.
Oh.
And I did a bit of research and check out the photo.
Oh, yeah, because it is a real hockey helmet.
Yeah.
So, I got to share that with Tronologically Speaking, the Tron Movies by Minute podcast, of which I am on episodes 20-something.
Oh, cool. I had to find two pictures that looked similar enough. There is obviously a lot of differences, but the helmet is called the Cooper SK2000. It's vintage now. I think you can see like the top of the head is perfect. The side ridges are perfect. Of course, it's got the visor on. The visor hides a lot of that detail, and it's just got coverings on the side where the sideburns parts and
Yes.
stuff. So it's a modified helmet. The only thing is, back looks like they filled it in. It looks like they filled in a lot of holes and stuff like that. And I found one online.
Make a mold of it.
Or even better, I found a Peppercure model as well, so I could just probably make one out of foam.
Nice.
But I found one online in large, so it might be too small for my head. It depends on if I can fit it in without just by removing all the padding. But the model apparently they used wasn't as small for Tron, so that should fit you. There is one online on eBay for about $200.
Yeah, now I can live out my Tron dreams.
I just thought of all the people to share that tidbit of information with, I was going to immediately call it like, no, save it for the podcast.
Yeah, because I also do the Tron Legacy Movies by Minute, Legacy Minute. And so, yeah, this is the sort of stuff I am definitely interested in.
I must admit, I want to get an OCP cop uniform ready for like Supernova next year, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to be a tiny Robocop.
I do have the pet files somewhere for Robocop.
Oh my god, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of it's a lot of work. But that's why you have me around to help.
Yes. In terms of set design in this movie, I mean, it's not really design. They're probably using a real location, but
It's so good.
I feel like it's really timeless. The way this film is shot is, I've been watching Michael Bay movies all week or for 2 weeks. I don't even know anymore. It's just Bayhem all the day, every day. Yeah, you've got some directors who they use very distinct camera angles and techniques and color palettes and all of that. And I feel like Verhoeven's films are more... There is a style, but it has nothing to do with how they're shot. It's really interesting. He has a very traditional shooting style.
Yeah.
At least I haven't seen anything too interesting so far. And a lot of the locations look fairly... I mean, this is probably most relevant to RoboCop and Starship Troopers is, even though they're both science fiction, they feel grounded. They feel very possible. They feel quite timeless.
Yeah, especially talking about Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers feels almost like a docudrama cameo in the, clearly uses a tripod and locks down dollies.
He's not doing like any spinning camera angles. He's not doing any Dutch angles. He's not doing none of that.
He's not doing quick cuts either. He does a lot of long takes.
Yeah, a lot of his shots hold for... They say the average is about 5 or 6 seconds. He tends to go a bit longer than that.
Yeah. The only real kind of frenetic section in this movie that I can think of, purely because of the location, it makes sense, is the discotheque.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of flashing lights, a lot of quick cutting, a director cameo. We'll definitely talk about that when we get there.
Oh, yeah.
The infamous director cameo of RoboCop.
I just love when they, either in Terminator or RoboCop, when you get a character like that and put them in that nightclub setting, it's just, it's pure cyberpunk, it's pure synthwave, and
Yeah.
even, like, I am someone who is in bed by 10:30, I don't drink, I don't like really loud spaces where you can't just have a conversation, and yet the nightclub aesthetic is very appealing and cinematic. I just don't want to actually be there.
Well, here's the irony, you say that. You love a movie set disco because it's all flashing lights and no noise.
Yeah.
They always have to get the people to mime to a track if they're going to try and record sound. But then again, who's going to be on a movie set with their blaring music?
Yeah.
They usually have to dub because people dancing won't make enough noise.
Yeah, I know when they film music videos, they will have the song playing, but I guess for a film itself, not so much.
Like, for a music video, it's usually for dubbing. Like, you know, if you've got the singer there singing, the singer's trying to sing along there. They're miming. It's all usually for miming purposes. And, you know, the good musicians are the ones who are able to mime without playing. My favorite ones are the ones where the musicians do really fuck up the miming. There's a great video out there. It's Nirvana on Top of the Pops. And because everything on Top of the Pops is mimed.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Top of the Pops have never played live. And this is Nirvana. So the only thing that's usually recorded live in like a show like Top of the Pops is the vocals. Because they're hard to mime.
Yeah.
But instruments, drums and stuff like that, they're usually miming.
Miming drums, oh my god, how do you even do that?
Well, watch Dave Grohl and you'll see how not to do it, because he's just basically Captain Cavemaning the drum kit. It's amazing. Kurt Cobain is playing his guitar right-handed, which is a dead giveaway.
I don't give a fuck.
They did not give a fuck this entire performance. I think Chris is literally throwing his bass guitar in the air half the song. And whenever Kurt starts singing, he chucks the guitar behind him and puts both hands on the microphone, even though the guitar is still playing. It is glorious.
Oh, you gotta put that in the footnotes.
Oh yeah, I'll have to try and do. Because I remember it was on a video they put out, Nirvana put out.
Yeah, they're probably pretty proud of it.
Back in the mid-90s. Yeah, this is before like the band split up in a very, very dramatic way. But it's got to be out there on YouTube somewhere because it is so good.
Should we jump to the gaslighting of RoboCop?
Alex, how do you feel?
I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Yes, so in this minute of gaslighting of RoboCop, we get the glorification of American patriocy in the Middle East.
This minute begins with Maddox leading the news reporter into the field and ends with Novak saying, "That would have been American men and women risking their lives."
Yeah, okay, so nothing really happens in the minute, but I must say, as a piece of visual storytelling, it's pretty... Blunt is not the right word. It's good for what the tone they're trying to set.
Yeah, I mean, it's very overt. It's funny, to me, this reads as more overt than the original RoboCop with the news segment, and I don't know.
But the movie has nothing to do with the Middle East.
That's the biggest problem, is that none of this ties into anything else. And that's, I guess we haven't really talked about that. You know, I kept circling around going, why is this not working? Why is it? It has fucking nothing to do with anything that the rest of the movie is about. And that's why it feels totally disconnected.
All it's doing is setting up the premise that we need a humans to be a robot instead of an AI, because you can't trust an AI, but you can definitely trust a human with a freaking gun. Because humans have never accidentally kill people.
So we see Ed 209 sort of, I think that's basically what it's supposed to be.
It's the ED 209 glory shot.
Yeah, and then there's some other androids walking around and they're saying, "Please exit your homes for a non-invasive scanning procedure," which it's very invasive. Like that's kind of the joke, is, I mean, they should be able to scan through walls, but no, you gotta get out of your house and stand there.
It probably would be irony if it was just handled better.
Yeah, that's the thing, is everything's played so straight and so flat that a scene like this, which is bordering on ridiculous, doesn't actually go into that territory, so you're just left kind of confused.
But you notice that you can tell this is the Middle East because everything is brown and sandy.
So we were talking earlier about camera techniques and stuff, and this has, your sepia tone over the top.
Yep.
You've got the handheld camera. You've got a lot of cliche modern filming techniques. It's all just too much all at once.
When I started this insane project, I fully expected to suffer alone on the RoboCop remake. And, you don't have to do this, I call this my penance for a reason. I came with this dumb idea.
I mean, eventually there's going to be some cyborg porn, so I'm going to be fine with that. Once that, I can just...
So is that why he has a fleshy hand?
For her pleasure.
Oh, Jesus.
The other thing that bothers me is the android design. I'm an android connoisseur, if you will. And yes, the design is lackluster. But also, you'd think the whole fucking point of them is to show this is what Murphy will eventually come to resemble. And no, it doesn't look anything like what the RoboCop costume looks like. So, what was the point?
We'll get to that damn costume.
In that... our RoboCop, which is like a sort of remake done by... It's a collaborative thing, but a lot of cracked actors made their own version of certain scenes. And at the end, they look across into a car park and they see someone dressed in a remake RoboCop costume. It's like this black bodysuit and this stupid helmet. And they're like, oh, hey, isn't that the new RoboCop? He's like, ah, and does a screaming noise. My voice just popped out of me. But it's like digging through the trash.
It's Donald Sutherland pointing and screaming.
Well, no, it's more like a little golem in the trash. And it was like scavenging. And it's like... and then, Anyway, put that in the footnotes. Our RoboCop is, I think it's only about 45 minutes long, but it's a good 45 minutes.
I think as long as we're not waffling on too much about weird shit and we're having a good conversation and a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be minutes where there's nothing to really talk about, so we can always, pad them out with weird
bullshit,
weird stuff like our own remake ideas and that. And
so, I've got a lot to say about the RoboCop costume, but I shall reserve... Yes.
I am looking forward to when we get that reveal, because, man, yeah, I can't wait to talk about that.
I mean, I'm the costume guy, to the point that I tend to review films costume first. My reaction to a trailer will be very much predicated on the costumes. So I'm currently reviewing Raised by Wolves as well. You can find it on Studio Yutani on YouTube. If it hasn't been taken down again, we're currently dealing with copyright strife.
YouTube is trash. Here's a funny aside. So doing a Kung Pao into the minute, one thing I do is when I'm editing, but when I'm making the VOD version of the cast, I don't want to use video because video can be easily copyright claimed. Stills you can get away with to a certain degree. They don't usually go through the automated copyright protection. They usually have to be somebody doing a manual DMCA. But for the most part, I think I'm covered. I'm doing critique and review that definitely falls under fair use. So, but what I do is I'll put the minutes at the end of the timeline so I can chunk out the bits of sound I need for the clips I want for the voices, what they're really saying, stuff like that. And I usually delete all that at the end, so because it's usually literally at 5-10 minutes after the end of the episode, just in a space, just to quickly grab and drop. I forgot to take that off one time. Good thing is it was one of the buffer episodes, so it wasn't like it was going out, and it didn't click that the project file was way too big, and then something didn't feel right about it. I came back to look at the YouTube thing, and it's just copyright claimed. Literally 10 minutes later. I left video in there. Yeah. Gone.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So my recommendation, if you can get away with it, just go with still frame.
And which doesn't look as professional. So
I know, but when you're dealing with shitty copyright law, even though you're doing fair use. Yeah.
So Raised by Wolves, my immediate reaction was, ugh, these costumes are trash and it looks cheap and nasty. And you know what? I think my initial reaction was correct. They're terrible costumes. They're really bad.
It's weird though, isn't it, when it's you think about that. It's we have a particular mindset when it comes to costumes. We've researched costumes. We make costumes. So I find myself doing that all the fucking time now. I see a movie and my brain's going, oh, I wonder how that's made.
Yeah.
I'm still processing the movie, but then I'm focusing on this one bit. So there's this bit in New Mutants where Magic has this necklace, but it's basically dog chain with 2 clips on it. Yeah. 2 days after watching that movie, I'm just there going, I can make this. I can make this prop. I can just do this.
Cool.
All I need to do is just go to Red Dot, pick up a cheap dog chain. I actually ended up buying 2 dog chains, at least with the clips already pre-on them, because it was cheaper than buying the clips at Bunnings separately. And they still are. And I just had to bandsaw off the chain because it was just too hard to cut by hand. It was steel, it's welded. But it was just one of those props that took me like less than an hour between buying, making, and
But that's the thing. Sometimes the opposite happens, where really clever things happen with costumes, and it was so low effort. It just sort of, we found this, or we've repurposed it, or it was a very simple solution. I love that.
This race bar, it's a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would explain some things as well. TV show budgets, even though they've gotten a lot better than they have in the past.
Oh, but costumes generally not that bad, to the point that I'm distracted by it, even with television.
Yeah.
The other thing in this minute that should be farcical, but isn't played that way, is where the robots are like, "May peace be upon you." It's like the silliest line, and no one... okay.
I know there's people who like the remake, and there's people who defend it, and there's people who like it as much as the original movie. I don't see it.
I looked on YouTube and I found people not only defending but really praising the Michael Bay movies, and I just went, people will like any old shit and humanity is doomed.
Yeah, so this is where I always come down on when it comes to movie reviews. I always try and think of it. I've probably said this before, and I'll probably say it again. I do think of movie, you should review things like objectively and as subjectively as much as possible. If you want to talk about the quality of a film, like production-wise, all the type of stuff, and you can use objective term. I think this is a well-crafted film. I do use terms like it's a schlocky action film because that's very descriptive.
Yeah.
But it's a well-made film, and it's very fun, it's very entertaining, and it's smart. I could say all those things and turn around and say, I don't like this. It'd be difficult, I know, but like that's just how, I think criticism should work to a certain degree. You should acknowledge your bias as much as you acknowledge what's good and bad of a film.
Yeah, like I cannot stand Looper. Couldn't even finish it. I thought it was really stupid.
I watched 10 minutes of it and kind of switched off.
Really boring. And I like Ryan Johnson, but I looked on Letterboxd, and all my friends and the people I follow are like 4 stars, 5 stars, all across the board, and going, what? Seriously?
I need to rewatch it, I must admit.
It is really cliche and cheesy and hated it. But I can at least criticize it or analyze it in an objective way and say, well, this is done well, and this works, and this doesn't work, and I can explain why. And I think that's the difference between a layperson just reacting to a film and someone who actually has some kind of film or literature studies or media studies skills, in which you can actually explain why something does and doesn't work. And that's the kind of the magic to me. I love criticism because people can break things down into their sort of base elements in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention this early in the beginnings of the podcast when we were talking about such like things about... So I've noticed this a lot, and it's especially over the last 5 years, and this has been a common gripe of mine, is I'm getting kind of sick of armchair criticism. Not necessarily armchair criticism of itself. I mean, for the most part, it is kind of shit. But when it's just like, I heard someone say a thing and I'm just going to repeat that thing like it's my own opinion.
Yep.
That bothers me to shit. Because it was about 5 years ago when the MCU is just a factory. And then I think someone made that observation. And then all of a sudden, a lot of other people just keep saying this thing. Like they had this big revelation that, oh my God, these Marvel movies are a factory. Yes.
Yeah, no shit.
Every film studio is a factory. You fucking idiots.
Yeah, there is that kind of hive mind thing where this one idea will catch on and then everyone says it.
I've seen that happen so many times now. And it's never like directed at like one specific thing. It's always seems to be like this nebulous concept that people kind of like giant brain themselves into thinking, wow, I had this massive thought. It's like, no, you fucking read it somewhere. I know you read it somewhere because...
They are the NPCs of life.
Yes. And it's just like, you don't tend to see with people who have media training who say this dumb shit. But I've even seen people who know movies for a living that say this dumb shit. Really? You're repeating that thing? You're better than this.
Yeah. Yeah, if someone can connect the dots, I think that is the coolest thing. I have the most respect for that. People who are able to take vast amounts of information and come up with this kind of connecting thread or this narrative to sort of condense it all down, whether that's...
Oh, have no issues with that.
No, I'm saying this is what I love about...
Alternate takes are usually really informative.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm saying this is a good thing.
Yeah.
What I love most about criticism, and this is what true criticism should be, are those people who can just frame it in a way that suddenly makes it all make sense. And when I sort of started on my journey of self-education and learning about history and media and all of that, and just realizing this was, I think, the prime example that stuck with me the first time it happened. I was sort of, I don't know, late teens, early 20s. I listened to a podcast about Mary Shelley, and then there was The Year Without Summer.
Aww.
That was caused by a volcano somewhere in the south of the equator, and then just reading about or listening to all these other different historical accounts of how this Year Without Summer affected all the other different people, totally unrelated. And yeah, that sort of thing is fascinating. We just go, oh my god, it's all connected. It's just everything influences everything else. And media is exactly the same, where, well, actually this ties into my next point. So,
well, you look at how much people talk about like things being post 9/11, like Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds remake was basically a post 9/11 allegory and things like that. Weirdly enough, people tend to want to dismiss reflections and stuff like that. Again, I'm going to use that nasty term that people don't like. This is postmodernism thinking. This is using your analysis tools to think, okay, why is this a thing? Oh, it's directly inspired by this thing. It's inspired by these systems. It's great analysis and tools. And yeah, I love that type of stuff. I actually like new and informed takes on things. That's why I think I keep going back to that Maggie May Fish RoboCop video, because it's one of those things you go, she's clearly studied a bit of this. Like, she's looked into the movie. She's using a lot of information to come up with a really interesting take on a movie. There's nothing really instinctually there to say that this is true.
Yeah.
But there's enough evidence to support that take, and I love that.
Yeah, and that's why I think to be a good critic, or just being able to write essays, or just take an academic approach to anything, you need to be fundamentally curious, and you have to just watch a lot of different things, read a lot of different things, listen to a lot of different things, and take in all this information about science, philosophy, history, culture, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because I do that, I'm watching all sorts of various YouTube channels, listening to all these different podcasts, and without fail, I will always work that into a podcast of my own and go, oh, actually, what if we analyze this from this perspective? And yeah, you're always going to be able to bring something new and unique if you kind of expand your interests.
Yeah, that's why I like the... I'm not trying to go in too much inside baseball. I've always liked your Prometheus by Minute. I like the fact that you do try and analyze these things through different lenses and different aspects.
Yeah.
It's not something I probably am capable of doing it if I put the time and effort in, but I think it's just those things like my interests lie elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's why I enjoy doing this to a certain degree. I can piggyback off that and play in that arena.
Yeah, perspective is something that I'm really fascinated by, and as I get older, that's something I think more and more about. Is just, what separates you from me, from just anyone else, and how do we all react to different things, and how can we look at the same object or the same piece of media and have totally different responses. And that fascinates me so much, and that's really what motivates my work, is trying to sort of cross that divide.
So here's an interesting question in that perspective. How useful do you think bad takes are?
I think it is valid because it just shows that this is a possible interpretation.
The only bad takes I have issue with is when people read into texts and they say things that clearly didn't happen.
Yes.
This is typically the alt-right tactic where, especially when it's like something like, say, Last Jedi or another one of those like Wonder Woman or movies like that, when it's just like they always talking about how the man is cuckolded to the woman. You're just like going, you must have seen a different movie to me.
Yeah, and that was what I was about to say, is I think bad takes tend to say more about the individual than the actual piece of media itself. And that in itself is fascinating. And if there's enough people saying the same thing and agreeing, then you go, oh, okay, so this is kind of a movement. This is representing a certain group of people. Like the controversy surrounding Black Widow and her whole I'm a monster and I can't have children. Those are two not related sentences, but a lot of women who were already sensitive to that kind of issue took it the wrong way. Fat Thor.
I was blindsided by that.
Yeah, I did not expect people to find it upsetting. And then Fat Thor, a lot of women who have weight issues thought he was offensive, and yet a lot of overweight men thought he was a very positive role model.
Okay, so I'm not going to say I hunted out all that stuff. I've never heard any negative criticism of Fat Thor.
It is buck wild, and I can send you some links if you are so curious.
I'm...
Maybe just stay away.
You know what? I think I'm going to pass just for my own mental health.
Oh, it's maddening. It's very much, these people are really sensitive about this issue to the point that they can't actually perceive reality anymore.
Well, okay, I know this is going on a bit long, but I don't care. This is my show, damn it, I'll do what I want. So going on to about that, for those that know me, I cosplay as Fat Thor. I'm a fat guy, I am a big person. I try not to use the F word too much because I know people don't like me saying it even though I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is like policing the language. As a trans person, I find my language being policed. It's like, if I want to say a word that offends you and it's about me, I don't think you can do that.
But I do have a history of self-deprecating humor, but that's kind of been something I kind of enjoy to a certain degree.
Yeah, I do tend to like self-deprecating humor, so...
Yeah. So anyway, it was a big thing to see Thor, a character I genuinely love, I've always loved, and especially after Thor Ragnarok, adore in the MCU. It was a big thing to see Thor go through that kind of pain in Infinity War and kind of the beginning of Endgame, where he's just kind of being raked through the coals and, you know, he's kind of a bit damaged.
I think it's actually quite humanizing. It wasn't played...
Yeah.
I mean, there's comedy around it, but
Yeah.
because it's, you know, that's the tone of the movie, that they did manage to walk that line of there's comedy and there's tragedy here.
Well, watching Thor be fat was the first time in an MCU movie where I was just like, oh, there's a hero that looks like me. And what happened was...
Well, there was Volstagg.
Well, no, but I mean, yeah, I've cosplayed Volstagg.
Yeah, you'd be a pretty good Volstagg.
No, but what I mean is that there's never been the hero that looked like me.
Yeah, like the main hero, the guy with the name on the poster.
This had never been an issue for me, in the sense of, like, you know, I've been around this dirt board covered in mud and water for a few years, and it's never truly bothered me, because at the end of the day I'm going, I know reality well enough. I know that I'm not going to be represented in Hollywood by, you know, the hero's never going to be a fat guy that looks like me. And to be brutally honest, I was expecting them to magic the fat away.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen too.
Flat out. And I was there going, I hope they don't magic the fat away. I hope they don't magic the fat away. I hope they don't magic the fat away. Because you got to remember, there were trailers. We saw basically pictures of Thor, and he looked like Thor. I mean, yeah, I know Marvel trailers are deliberately false nowadays, which is, I kind of like. But part of me was always there going, they're going to magic that fat away. They're going to magic the fat away. They're going to magic the fat away. And they didn't magic the fat away. I was just like, oh. They didn't magic the fat away. He was still a hero.
Yeah.
And that struck a chord to me. And that's pretty much when I was just like, nope, I'm not shaving my beard off anymore. I'm going to grow it out. I am going to build a Thor costume.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I debuted that at Bricktober last year, which is, yeah, always coming up to 12 months. Unfortunately, Bricktober this year has been cancelled, which is sad.
All that's to be expected.
Yeah, 2020 COVID, yeah. But I had, like, 3 people. It's only 3 people, but I had 3 people come up to me and say, thank you for being Thor, being a big guy. You know, I think it's positive representation. Thank you very much. And, you know, you do get kid called Fat Thor and stuff like that. Kids are kids. You tend to just ignore child shit. But that really deeply affected me. And it's just that thing where I'm like, God, I do feel emotional just saying it. As someone who's never been... I'm a cishet, well, pan, but I'm a cishet white guy. And...
Pandemonium sexual.
Pandemic sexual. It's not like I've never seen a cishet white guy on screen before.
Yeah.
But I've never connected to heroes. I've said before, I always wanted to be RoboCop. You know, there are heroes I'd love to be, but at the same time they're going, I'm a little fat kid. I'm never going to be Batman. I'm never going to be Spider-Man. I'm never going to be these characters. So it never struck me that hard until literally that moment of like, holy shit, I've never been this. Even though I got it intellectually, why people react in such a way to things like Black Panther and Wonder Woman and all those kind of things, that representation. I get it, but I didn't feel it. And this was the first time I was like, oh, that's what that feels like.
Yeah, and I think that is the power of fiction, that it allows us to explore elements of ourselves. And
yeah,
I had a roommate who was like, I just don't get the point of watching or reading fiction because it didn't really happen. So what's the point? Like, what are you getting at? And I went, oh, buddy. Yeah, it is very much.
Why do we have art?
Yeah, what's the point of things that aren't real? And yeah, it is. There's almost it's therapeutic. It's cathartic. It conveys messages, whether intentional or unintentional. And so for me, that's why I tend to gravitate towards stories about androids and cyborgs and all of that, because it's dealing with these kind of transhumanist ideas that are very relevant and personal to me that I don't see in anything else. You know, I feel like I'm very much a man or an android out of time, and I'm dealing with issues that are not seen anywhere outside of science fiction.
Oh, I just realized we're coming up to the end of the episode and we haven't got a Deus mention. Oh, there it is.
Deus Ex, yeah.
I never asked for this.
Deus Ex.
Deus.
I keep saying Deus.
Yes.
Deus Ex.
But my last note, we went on a tangent there, but my last note was that...
Please give us your last note.
So Novak, Sam Jackson, his full quote...
Oh, your last note's about the remake? Nah. Go on.
His full...
I keep forgetting his name.
Yeah, well, I wrote it down so that I remember. So Novak's full quote is, not too long ago, that would have been American men and women risking their lives to pacify these people. And that really stood out to me because I've been watching The Boys, I've been watching the Bayformers movies, and it's this recurring theme that the lives of Americans, you know, the notion of saving or protecting America seems to be more significant in American stories than saving humanity, preserving humanity as a whole. And it's implied that American lives have more value than just any other human life. Yeah. And there's something very insidious about that.
Yeah, it's... this is why I wrote my sentence as the glory of American patriocy in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's not about good versus evil. It's really not even about trying to stop the insurgents. It's America waving its dick. Mm-hmm. And say what you will about the Cheeto in chief, it's really bringing into sharp focus just how kind of fucked up it's gotten.
Yeah.
You get a sociopath in a role of power with people who are flat out supporting him, doing horrendous, literal fascist things, and people are saying, no, he's not a fascist. I made a post about how he, knowing about COVID and doing nothing, has cost 20,000 people's lives. And a friend of mine is going, no, he didn't do anything. He's not responsible.
That's the exact point. He didn't do anything.
Yes!
Yeah, I mean...
how could you not see that and go...
There's a reason why Superman isn't truth, justice, and the American way anymore.
Yeah. Of all the freaking years, it's kind of like, geez, America, could you just not? Could you just not?
Having watched the Bayformer movies recently, it does occur to me that this opening for the remake of RoboCop is more appropriate to that kind of world. That, especially the first Transformers movie, where you do have soldiers in Qatar, I think it was.
Yeah.
And there's very much that American presence in the Middle East, military kind of subplot. There's nothing about the military in the rest of this. It's about RoboCop, not Soldier Cop. Or, Robo Soldier.
Well, that's the other problem, is that it's supposed to be set in the future, but it feels too modern.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Isn't that weird? Because...
yeah, there's robots,
yeah, because RoboCop, the original, very much feels like it's in the 80s, but also kind of timeless. And
it's almost like 80s adjacent, because you look at RoboCop, you look at the aesthetics and stuff, and it does have a bit of futurism going on there. But it's a familiar futurism. You look at it and going, this is where this country's going to be in 20 years. Just utter shit.
Yeah, whereas not the Middle East will always just look like that.
It's just going to look like sepia tones. Just this time it's going to have ribbits.
Ribbits.
Fuck. I'm saying it derogatory because I think they are derogatory in that movie. They're not good robots. They're not the good boys.
Yep.
They're not even interestingly designed. I mean, ED209 literally only looks that way because Ed209 looks a certain way. And the thing is, Ed209 has more character. It doesn't have an expression, but it has a character. That void where its mouth would be, and the grating where the thing... it has character. ED209 just looks like a mech.
Yeah, everything about the designs in this just looks so generic. It's the same issue I have with the designs in Transformers. It's just It just looks like a pile of scrunched up alfoil.
Yep.
And It doesn't look iconic. There's nothing about the silhouette. You know,
Yeah.
80s movies like Tron
Yeah.
or RoboCop or Star Wars, like those vehicles and those character or robot costumes, you immediately know who they are just by their silhouette.
Yeah, it's insane how... I'm going to use a term because it has gotten to this point, and I love this, so I hate to use it. It's all Mass Effect now. I love Mass Effect. It used to be unique. Now everyone's copying Mass Effect for their designs, and it fucking shits me.
Well, it's either that or it's the MCU.
But I mean, like, for science fiction, like...
For sci-fi, definitely, yeah, it's got that Mass Effect look.
Picard! All the designs in Picard are Mass Effect!
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah.
They even use the bloody robot tentacle monsters.
I'm trying to think of any science fiction I've watched that's come out recently that looked really distinct. I mean, I don't know.
I'll have the design Star Trek rant one day, but
Yeah.
probably not today.
I mean, devs.
We're already running a little bit over.
Yeah, devs. Raised by Wolves, Altered Carbon. Nah, none of them are like, oh my god, wow, this looks like nothing I've ever seen before. Everything's getting very homogenous now.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that the only clean future we do get is Star Trek, and even Star Trek is turning dirty. Dirty sci-fi was pretty much a staple of the late 70s, early 80s. Like, Aliens and Star Wars were pretty much the...
Love it, grungy.
Sorry?
I love it, it's all grungy.
I think it's a crunchy. It's like, that's a different term. Yeah, grunge. The grungification of sci-fi, I think.
It's Crunchyroll, it's anime, love it.
Well, crunchy with props is where you kind of make it look a little bit shit, just to give it a bit of character. I like to crunchify a few things. Anyway, that's probably a good place to stop.
I think that about covers it.
Yes. Connor, where could we find you?
Yes, so you can find me on traviandesigns.com, TRAVIAN, or there's Alien Prequels by Minute on Facebook, or patreon.com/traviandesigns.
Excellent. I'm not sure if I said my name this entire episode, but I am Simon. You can find me on Fanboy Crossing. Just Google that shit. I also do the podcast Kung Pao by Minutes. Check out my stuff on YouTube, where I have vlogs and all sorts. Oh, here's an interesting thing. I've been recently got a buff on my YouTube videos for my graphite rubbing videos. I don't know how, but...
Wait, what?
People just randomly coming onto my graphite rub videos and saying, oh, I like this. How do you do this?
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Random. I made those videos over a year ago, and now they're blowing up.
Oh, yeah,
What the
that
fuck?
happens with stuff I've posted where it's like, oh, suddenly everyone's reading this fan fiction that I wrote 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, the algorithm is weird. So thank you very much, Connor.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.